Some major cash is going to be splashed by the Toronto Blue Jays front office this summer. Who's it going to be, though? Let's break it all down. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Briones, alongside Nick Goss. And, we got some exciting news out of Blue Jay land today. Some talks about a potential extension for the Blue Jays core players. Now, you could all probably guess who that's going to be. It contains Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Alek Manoah, and Bo Bichette. Now, those are the three main pieces of this core, and can the Blue Jays pay them all? That's the main question we're looking at here.
Yeah, and we've had some conversations about this in previous videos and off camera. The Jays have a lot of their whole core is young talent, and that is costly. So, three main players you just mentioned, it's gonna be an interesting talk to have because Vladdy obviously underperformed a bit last year for his standards. It's crazy to say that because he still did amazing. And then the real question is, who do you leave out, or do you leave anyone out? Because we have Lourdes as well, who we haven't really spoken about much on the channel, but Lourdes and Teo, like, I'm just gonna pop up the report here. Ross Atkins said Blue Jays have laid some groundwork for contract extensions with a few core players, and the Jays plan to continue those talks this offseason. Jays don't provide specifics, but from outside looking in, seems that Vlad, Bo, and Manoah are in that group. From Ben Nicholson Smith, a very reliable reporter. So, the first thing that caught my eye was, I'll pop it up again real quick. You can see the core. We were discussing in the past who the core would be. I guess Ross has it right here: Vlad, Bo, and Manoah. So I don't know. It's an interesting talk to have. And what would you think about paying those three? I guess mainly start with Vlad.
Well, my list of priority would go like this: Alek Manoah has got to be your number one guy.
Yeah.
And it's Vlad, and then just depending on how much money the Blue Jays really want to spend, because we know they have the money. They have the richest owner in the major leagues by net worth and by monetary value standards. So Ed Rogers, he can pay all three of those guys, and he could pay pretty much anyone that he wants to throw money at. But will he? That's the real question. The Blue Jays have what it takes to be number one in payroll, but they're never number one in payroll. Now, for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., we could look at the Julio Rodriguez extension as sort of the groundwork as to how they can go about approaching Vladdy for an extension. Will you throw him some guaranteed money and a lot of incentives? Because for a player like Vladdy, that could be very useful. Like, he had a down season this year, and maybe you want him to keep up his 2021 production so he could earn that contract.
Yeah. I'll pop up Julio's contract here. This was from I don't know, it was a while ago, but long-term extension, 210 million guaranteed over 14 years with the ability to grow well over 400. So, it's a good point you brought up. Would Vladdy want to do a incentive-based, at least not incentive-based, but an extension that includes a lot of incentives? I don't know. And again, I think we're in agreement here. I don't think the Jays extend Vlad this summer. I think from neither side, it doesn't make sense for either side because Vlad's coming off of a down year for his expectations, and then from the Jays side, I'm sure they want to see next year's production. Will they sign Vladdy no matter what? Of course they are. How much money is it going to cost? Who knows? It's going to cost Ed. It's going to cost him a lot of money, but it's going to happen either way. So it's just a matter of how much and when.
I'll disagree with you on one point there. It does make sense for the Blue Jays to sign him right now, in the sense that they can kind of buy low on the Vladimir Guerrero stock. But we saw it with Aaron Judge this season. He kind of bet on himself and won himself an extra $100 to $200 million on the open free agent market. Now, will Vladdy want to do this after a so-called down season, which is insane to be thinking, even be talking about, because he still had 30 plus bombs, 97 RBI, hit 275, and that was a disappointment for him.
Yeah. So I'll clarify what I meant by I guess the Jays not wanting to. I was thinking more so with how much Vlad is asking for. So like 400 million. I don't know if they'd feel comfortable doing that just yet. But if they can get him a discount 100%, they would do it, which is why I just don't think it's happening because Vlad's not going to take a discount. because he could perform the same way as last year next year, and he's probably still going to get as much money as he really wants in theory because the Jays aren't going to let him go. Um, so yeah, I will agree with you there, and I don't know. It's Judge is a great example you brought up. Is he took a bet on himself, and it's gonna give him an extra. I think I read somewhere like it's a 200 million. He's gonna get more, but the big difference here between Julio, as we discussed, the big contract, and then Vladdy is position premium, and I'll let you touch on that. Is that Vladdy's a first baseman, so he's not gonna be able to command. I mean, if he's hitting the level he did last year, or I guess the year before last year, 2021, then yeah, he can command as much as he wants. But as a first baseman hitting like 140 OPS plus, it's a bit of a tougher conversation to have because you're not really giving too much defensively. Even though he is a phenomenal first baseman, you can be a phenomenal first baseman and you're only providing as much value as like a average shortstop defensively.
Mhm. And when it comes to Julio Rodriguez, I think he's the closest thing to Mike Trout that we've seen since Mike Trout, and some of you might think that's outrageous, but for those of you that do watch Julio Rodriguez play, he's a
Unreal.
five-tool player. He's going to be a 30-30 guy for as long as he wants to be, unless the Mariners tell him to stop stealing bases to not get hurt, because that's what the Angels did with Mike
Yeah.
Trout. He came up, he was a 30-30 guy, and then they said, "Hey, dude, stop stealing bases because we want to keep you in that lineup."
Yeah, I agree with you. We're huge J Rod fans, both of us. I love J
Love him.
Rod. I love him. He's the way he plays is perfect. Loves the game, and we need more of that in baseball in general. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting question, and one that we're gonna be having extensive talks with over the off season. Me and you, I'm
Mhm.
sure, because there's endless content to be made from it. Touching on Manoa quickly, I don't even know how much we need to go in depth with Manoa because it's a pretty clear cut case. Give him as much money as he wants. Compare him to other young starters and just give him the firm. Again, and down. We talked about this off camera. A down season for Manoa is what, a 3 ERA. Like, just give him what he wants. And yeah, it's a Bo is a bit of a bigger question mark there.
Alec Manoa, he's a workhorse. He's an ace, and he's gonna be that for next 10 plus years. I would say
Yeah, he's like our most
he's
valuable player, I'd argue. Long
yeah
term, especially because you need a workhorse like that to win a World Series.
he's like the next edition of Roy Halladay for this Blue Jays side, and you need a guy like that. You need a guy that's gonna just go out there and throw 200 plus innings for
Yeah,
you year in year out, and whatever kind of money that he wants, you give it to him. And you see
exactly.
it with teams like the Atlanta Braves. They get a great player that comes up to the major leagues. They play a handful of games, and they're giving them multi-year contracts right off the jump.
Yeah. Alex Anthopoulos, former JGM. What they're doing is it's interesting. It hasn't really been done. I don't know if it's been done before to the extent that they're doing it. They're just locking up as many players as they can. I saw a graphic on TV yesterday. It's like a bunch, like 2028 and onwards. Their whole core is locked up. Austin Riley, Matt Olson, all of them. They did get eliminated today, but we won't touch on that too much. The Phillies doing some crazy things out there. Um, but yeah, you know, I don't know what Manoa wants. I'm sure the Jays honestly don't question what he wants too much because he is the heart and soul of the team, and he wants to be here as well. I think most of the Jays players do want to be here, which is a good, obviously a good thing. But Manoa, you give him all the money. And what are your thoughts on Bo's I guess position with contract talks?
Well, like I mentioned earlier on, they have the money to pay all three, and it's just a question of whether they want to do it. The Jays can have the highest payroll in the major leagues. It definitely could. It's not a question of money. It's not a monetary decision that they're going to make here. But Bo Bichette, it just depends on
Yeah,
the list of priorities that the Blue Jays have right now. Do you want to keep Bo Bichette at shortstop? Are you banking on the fact that he's a hard worker and that he's going to come back next season and make 10 errors as opposed to the 20 that he made this season? That's what you're banking on. And I don't know if you can make that sort of gamble. And it also depends. Do you go after a guy like Carlos Correa? Do you move Santiago Espinal to shortstop and try to make him your future guy? There's a bunch of different options that the Jays have there, and I don't know if Bo Bichette is the guy that you want to pay 300 plus million to.
yeah. it brought up the comment section has been pretty split on Bo. We've had some people saying trade Bo, whatever. Some people saying keep Bo, he's the future. And I think that's what a lot of it depends on is what the Jays plan to do him positionally wise. If they go on to pursue someone like Carlos Correa this winter and they end up, let's just say they, or maybe not even Correa to that degree, but they get another shortstop. We'll use Correa as an example though. Is Bo fine playing second base long term? That's a question you have to ask him before extending him. When you're extending him, you also have to ask yourself, like you said, is he gonna fit there long term as like defensively? There's a lot more question marks with Bo than there is because you know Vladdy's gonna stick at first. You know that Manoa's starting pitcher, so it's a huge question mark. But I think if it comes down to it, they do extend him simply because I mean he's just an unreal hitter and he's still super young, has lots of room to grow. We tend to forget how young these players are. They're all super young. Vladdy's younger than Adley Rushman, and people always rave about how Adley's super young and upcoming, and he is. I love Adley Rushman, but Vlad, he's super young as well. So it's definitely an interesting point. We'll have tons of conversation about Bo, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and on Bo Bichette, if you do move him to second base, you really want to be paying a second baseman 200 300 million dollars? I don't know. You can't really put that kind of a price tag on a position that's so easy to play.
I think that's a good point, but I think you do if you have an elite shortstop there because Bo is such a good hitter that is there really a better option? Maybe a bit cheaper, sure, but is there a better option at second who hits that well to complement your team as your young core? It's a tough question to ask, and it's one I'm sure we'll have lots more conversations about in the future. Especially in future videos we'll touch on the old Teoscar thing and Lourdes a bit more, but mainly just focus on these three for this video as they were in the core report.
And there's a ton of news swirling around.
Tons.
The truth is, we have no idea what's going to happen, but we'll know within the next couple of months, and we'll be the first ones on the scene to report that to you. And thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have been killing it. We are on the road to 1K subscribers. So play that graphic, Nick, because you guys have been unbelievable these past few videos. 1K plus views on all of them. One is almost at 10K views. I mean, you guys are going crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. Yeah, I guess like Peter said, just thanks, and we're not stopping here. We'll have another video as soon as tomorrow, breaking down some more stuff, and yeah, we can give our best. We can report to you guys. We're not 100% sure what's gonna happen, but we can give our insight and use the sources we have the best of our ability. So appreciate the support though, and keep keep commenting what you want to see and comment your opinions, whether they're positive or negative. We're all here for it. It's all about it's all speculation right now. So we're open to discussion.
We want all the smoke, that's for sure. And look, man, we might be talking about our types of contracts here. We might be in that $300 million range soon. The way we're growing right now.
Keep it up, and hopefully the support continues. But at the end of the day, it's we're having fun doing it, and that's I think that's what matters here.
It's been a blast. Thanks for making it this far. Peace.